Hey folks, I'm Rob Franek, Editor-in-Chief here at the Princeton Review. If you've been joining us for this COVID-19 series, you'll know that on the daily we are tackling COVID-19 issues and their repercussion on higher education. Today's segment, we are focused on business school-bound students who are taking the new incarnation of the GMAT test. Folks, very similar to the new incarnation of GRE and the LSAT, the GMAT is now being offered remote and online. Now, GMAC, who creates the GMAT, is releasing this new exam, the interim GMAT, in mid-April of 2020. At that time, you can register and sit for the exam. Here's what you need to know. The interim GMAT is going to be very similar in structure, in the number of items, in the time for completion, as well as scoring. So folks, in short, you will not have to relearn how to take the GMAT for its new incarnation, this interim test. The sole difference between the interim GMAT and the traditional GMAT is that there'll be no analytical writing assessment. Now that said, the section scores as well as total scores will remain comparable to the traditional exam. But there are differences. Number one, the price point is going to be lower than the traditional GMAT of $275. They haven't announced what that fee is going to be yet, but we'll certainly be reporting that information back out to you. Number two, and this is so important, rescheduling fees as well as score reinstatement fees have been waived indefinitely due to these COVID times. And number three, the interim GMAT will be remote and have remote proctors who will watch you during the entire exam. They'll see you, you won't see them, and they'll be recording the entire exam. Remember, remote proctors are there for a couple of different reasons. Number one, test security, and number two, test integrity. Number four, accommodations for students with disabilities. Those will be honored on the new incarnation of this interim GMAT. Now, the question that we've heard from a lot of our GMAT students at the Princeton Review is this, and I suspect it's on lots of your minds as well. What about cheating in this new remote environment on the GMAT? Folks, GMAC, again, who creates the exam itself, had made an exam that is virtually impossible to cheat. There's a couple of safeguards that they put in place for the GMAT exam. Test integrity being the focus and the goal of these safeguards. Number one, they'll be limiting the amount of times when you can take the test. Number two, they'll be controlling the circulation of information, questions as well as information about the exam post a test. And number three, controlling all scratch work. Folks, this sounds very familiar, of course, to us and likely to you for the traditional environment in those testing centers for the GMAT. It's also very similar to the new incarnation of the GRE online as well, controlling the environment and recording every bit of the experience that a student is going to be doing in that remote environment. Above all else, the inherent nature, of GMAT's adaptive engine makes it nearly impossible to cheat this exam, even if test takers were to answer questions in the exact pattern of right and wrong questions. Folks, they are likely to see some difference in the question. So if you're asking the question, what are the chances of getting the same exact test as somebody else? Folks, the answer is exactly nil. Now, just a little thought experiment to put a finer tip on this stuff. Imagine that you had a test that was 5 questions only, and you were pulling on a pool of 100 questions to populate that 5 questions. And the only restrictions that you had were to not repeat a question throughout that exam. Folks, with just that one restriction, out of that pool of 100 questions, for that 5-question exam, there'll be over 75 million unique tests that we could generate. And that's just 5 questions. The GMAT math section is 31 questions in all. Now, although the GMAT algorithm takes into account 3 things, and this is important to know: content area, format, and of course, level of difficulty, but there are still a cartoonish amount of possibilities. Now, folks, with all that said, for those students who are still interested in cheating and crowdsourcing GMAT questions, the consequences are severe. GMAT can and does prosecute test takers who disseminate information and questions about what's on the GMAT specifically, and GMAT relays that information directly to business schools themselves. So folks, if you're nervous about cheating, Please put that fear to rest and focus your efforts on two things: logistics and strategies. So here are the next steps that we suggest at the Princeton Review. Number one, do your research into what is available and what your dream MBA program will actually accept. Number two, there are still some testing centers that are open, so make yourself aware of those in your community. Number three, the interim GMAT is not available for students in mainland China. Now, the GMAC Council, who is creating the GMAT exam, is going through discussions with the Chinese government, and we expect that there'll be some alternative solutions. We'll certainly report that information back out here at the Princeton Review. Folks, also keep in mind that many MBA programs, business schools themselves, will accept not only the GMAT, but also the GRE as well. As I had said before, we did a full video on this at the Princeton Review. It's right here on our YouTube channel as well. Folks, as always, Princeton Review is here for you. If there's any of our services specifically for the GMAT or any business school services that we offer at Princeton Review, please know that we're here for you. You can find out information on those things on our website, princetonreview.com, or any of our social channels, or right here on YouTube. Rob Franek, Editor-in-Chief, out.